Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and 6v6 is finally back in Overwatch 2. The traditional 2-2-2 comp is going to be playable in its own separate mode. Don't get this confused, 6v6 is not fully replacing 5v5 in quick play and competitive. 5v5 is still going to be in those modes, but this is going to be its own separate mode. Along with all of the hero changes that we're going to be covering today, because their plan was not to just bring back 6v6 and have tanks be unkillable monsters. Their plan was to change every single tank hero, every single damage hero, and a handful of support characters. And today we're going to go over all of those changes because there's over like 25 changes or something. Let's get this started. The first set of changes aren't going to be individual hero changes, but rather the general changes, because now base health regeneration is not going to start at 5 seconds, but rather for 7 seconds. So this is really going to be applied to tank and damage heroes. And the tank role passive is also getting changed, where knockback and critical damage reduction is just fully getting removed in 6v6, along with the ultimate charge generation reduction by 25% is also getting removed. And the final general change is going to be for the damage role passive, where the healing reduction is no longer going to be at 25%, but is now going to be at 15%. And that healing reduction is not going to be applied to any of the tank heroes that damage heroes shoot. All right, let's move on to the individualist changes. D.va's getting a whole gang of nerfs, but when it comes to her health, she's actually kind of giving a buff, where they're going to be reducing her armor points by 25 points, but they're going to be increasing her base health by 125 points. That might seem OP until you see the rest of the changes, like her defense matrix. It's now only going to have a duration of 2 seconds rather than 3 in 5v5. Her fusion cannons is getting 2 massive nerfs, where the weapon spread is getting increased to 4 degrees of spread, along with the movement speed penalty getting up by 10%. Previously it was at 30%, now it's at 40%. The cooldown for her micro missiles increased by a second, now it's at 8 seconds, and her booster cooldown increased by half a second. Previously it was at 3.5, now it's at 4 whole seconds. Keeping it moving with Doomfist. It's kind of surprising to see Doomfist staying in the tank role for 6v6, but to compensate for this change, his base health is going to be increased from 375 to 425. But while he has more to his base health, the temporary health that he gets from his best defense passive is going to be a lot less. Every time you punch an enemy, you're now only going to gain 35 of temporary health, whereas before it was at 40, and the max temporary health that you can gain is going to be at 150. Previously it was capped at 200. Both his seismic slam and his power block ability is getting a 1 second increase to its cooldown. Seismic slam is at 7.5 seconds, and power block's now at 8 seconds, and the maximum duration for his power block is only going to be at 2 seconds, where beforehand it was at 2.5 seconds. Hazard might be new, but he's still joining the 6v6 fun with some changes to his jagged wall, where they're going to be increasing the cooldown for 3 whole seconds for the wall, but they're going to be increasing the health from 400 total health to 500. And Hazard spike guard ability is going to be a lot less prevalent, because they're going to be decreasing the duration by half a second, and they're going to be increasing the recharge time from 5 seconds to now 6 seconds. The Junker Queen is also getting some notable changes in 6v6, where they're going to be increasing her base health by 50 points. Now it's at 425. Her Adrenaline Rush is getting a huge nerf, or whenever you use a melee ability, the self-healing from the wounds that you inflict on the enemy is getting decreased from 2.5 to just 1 times. Whatever damage that you do is the amount of health that you gain. And the cooldown to her commanding shout is getting 3 extra seconds. Now it's going to take 15 seconds for you to shout again. Mauga had to get changed in 6v6, and what they decided to do was to decrease his armor points by 50 and increase his base health by 25 points. So he's losing out on 25 total armor points, which is a huge nerf. His overrun and cardiac overdrive abilities are getting 2 seconds of increase to their cooldown, but with overrun specifically, the stomp damage is getting decreased by 15 points. Now it's only going to do 60 damage, and his cardiac overdrive, the after lifesteal, is getting reduced from 50% to now just a measly 30%. And to add insult to injury, Mauga's cage fight ultimate is only going to last 7 seconds, where in 5v5 it lasts for 8 seconds. Orisa's getting racked in 6v6. While they are only going to be reducing her base armor by 75 points, they're also going to be increasing her base health by 100 points, but still, you're missing out on 75 armor points, my god. And no, they're not giving her her old shield, but rather nerfing a bunch of her abilities, like her Fortify, where she can no longer be immune from headshot critical damage. Her primary form of fire now is going to have a fall-off damage starting at 25 meters, and her javelin cooldown is getting 2 seconds added onto it. Now it's going to be at 8 seconds instead of 6. Ramattra is getting some interesting changes, where they're going to be increasing his base health by 125 points. Now it's going to be at 375. However, the bonus armor that you gain from his Nemesis form is only going to be at 200, where in 5.5 you gain 300 armor with Nemesis form. And his Void Barrier cooldown is getting 3 extra seconds added onto it, where now it's going to be at 16 seconds. Wow, Reinhardt is getting a ton of changes here. So he's getting a boost to his base health, where they're going to be increasing it from 250 to 325, but they're going to be reducing his armor by 75 points. points. Now he's only gonna have 225 armor. He does gain his old steadfast passive ability though, where it reduces knockback by 30%. So Reddit Lucios, you won't be knocking my boy Reinhardt off the cliff anytime soon. His charge ability got some lame changes where they added 3 seconds to the cooldown. Now it's gonna be at 10 where before it was at 7. And his steering got reduced by 50%. Why? I mean, not everything's all bad because his barrier health is finally back to the classic 2,000 points. His fire strike though is back to the classic form as well, where you only get 1 fire strike, and his earth shatter distance got reduced by 5 meters. Now it's gonna be only affecting targets at 20 meters. Roadhog mains, you might either really love these changes or hate these changes. First of all, his base health is getting a boost by 50 points. Now he's gonna have 650 health. However, his Pigpen ability is fully getting removed. If you thought that was bad, you just gotta look at the rest of the changes and realize that Roadhog's just a completely different hero in 6v6. So first of all, his scrap gun, his secondary fire is now finally back, but that means that his primary fire is no longer gonna shoot like how it does in 5v5. So this means they're removing the 4 large center projectiles in favor of having more damage per projectile, also just increasing the overall damage per pellet, and also increasing the critical damage to his primary and secondary form of fire, increasing from 1.5 to 2 times multiplied critical damage. His chain hook cooldown is getting 2 extra seconds added. Okay, so now it's at 8 seconds. His take a breather now can only heal for a maximum of 325, and you also don't have a resource meter, but instead have an 8-second cooldown like how old Roadhog used to be. You also do get a boost in the damage reduction whenever you self-heal. Now it's going to be at 50 damage reduced, where previously it was at 40%. And the final changes to his whole hog, or should I say nerf to his whole hog, because the duration now only lasts for 6 seconds rather than 8 seconds. Sigma's up next, and they're going to be reducing his base health from 275 to 250, but this is in favor of a faster recharge rate for its experimental barrier, where now you can recharge for 100 health per second, where previously it was at 85. And he's definitely going to need his shield because his rock is doing less damage because they decreased it from 120 to now just doing a flat 100 damage. Winston joins the health change crew, but this is going to be interesting because they're going to be increasing his base health from 225 to 250, so increasing it by 125, but they're going to be reducing his armor by 50 points. Now he's only going to have 200 armor points. His bubble and his jump pack ability are both getting an extra second applied to them, and his Tesla cannon now no longer ignores armor damage reduction, which that's going to be really huge going against people like a Reinhardt or a Mauga. You still do keep your secondary fire, however, the charge time is increased to 1.1 seconds of total charge time, and the ammo cost also got heavily increased, basically doubling it from 12 to 25. And if it wasn't bad enough, they're also nerfing the Angie Scientist, because with his Primal Rage ultimate, you only get 500 extra health compared to 5v5 700 extra health. Almost done with the tank changes. Wrecking Ball. So his base shield health is getting completely removed in favor of an increase to his base health, increasing it from 300 to 500, so an extra 200 base health, and his armor is only getting reduced by 25 points. His adaptive shield is getting a huge nerf where you can no longer give shields to your allies, but it's not like Hammer Mains even did that to begin with. The radius at which you get the shield for yourself is getting reduced from 13 meters to now 8 meters, and the total overall health that you gain per target is going to be at 75, where in 5v5 it's at 100. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, his pile drive ability cooldown also got a 2-second increase, where previously I was at 8 seconds, now it's at 10 seconds. And the final tank change before we go on to the DPS heroes is Zarya. So just like most of the tanks, her base health is getting increased by 50 points. She doesn't have any armor, so we don't have to worry about that, but she does have her particle and projected barrier. Now both of the bubbles are no longer going to share a cooldown, but rather just have their own separate cooldown. Her self bubble is now going to be at 10 seconds, and the health of the bubble is only going to be at 200, and the duration is also a lot shorter, lasting only for 2 seconds. Her ally bubble is also going to have the same amount of health for 200 total hit points. The duration is also going to be the same at 2 seconds. However, the cooldown is going to be at 8 seconds compared to her self bubble, which is at 10 seconds. All right, that was a lot of tank changes, but funny enough, we're not done with the tank changes because Ashe, technically Bob, is getting a buff to his health because they're going to be increasing his overall health from 1,000 to 1,200. Cassie's Fan the Hammer damage is getting a slight buff, where before you do 45 per fan, now you're going to be doing 50 per fan. Echo's getting 2 changes. first of all, with her focus beam, where the damage multiplier is no longer going to be at 3.5, but rather at 4 times multiplied for low targets. And now whenever you copy an enemy with her ultimate, there's no longer going to be a cap to the max health that you can get. Of course, I, a Hanzo hater, still can't be happy in 6v6 because I decided to buff his storm bow arrow now to fully charge his shot. It only takes 0.72 seconds, where before it's at 0.8 seconds. But a main can be happy because her ice wall health is getting increased from 250 to now 300, and that's per pillar, not just for the whole entire wall. Soldier 76 is getting a slight but very important buff to his pulse rifle, where the damage is getting increased from 19 damage per bullet to now 20 damage per bullet. Torbjorn's turret is getting a buff here, where they're going to be increasing the turret's damage from 13 damage per bullet to now 15 damage per bullet. Tracer's fall off range for her pulse pistols is getting slightly increased. The fall off begins at 10 meters, but now it's going to start to begin at 12 meters. And the last and final damage here that's getting changed is, interestingly, Widowmaker, where she's getting the tank treatment, where they're only increasing her base health from 200 to 225. All right, that was really quick. Support characters are going to be a lot longer. Starting off with Ana. Her ammo for her biotic rifle is getting decreased by 3 shots. Now it's going to be at 12 total shots. Her sleep dart now no longer has reduced duration for tank heroes, so that's nice. And the cooldown is also getting decreased by 2 seconds. And her biotic grenade's cooldown is also getting 2 seconds to remove. Now it's going to take 10 seconds for you to throw another anti-grenade and ruin every Roadhog's life. Baptiste is getting some interesting changes specifically to his regenerative burst ability, where you can no longer heal for twice as much for any ally that's under 50 max health. And while that definitely is her nerf, you do instantly heal for 50 health compared to 40 health in 5v5. But the real kicker here is now you can heal for 100 total health over the span of 5 seconds, compared to 5v5 where you only heal for 40. But they continue to ruin my life by buffing his immortality field, increasing the health to 150 health. Illari is only getting buffs here. Starting off with her solar rifle, the max damage is getting increased from 70 to 75, and the minimum damage is getting increased from 20 to 25. That's nice, but the cooldown for her healing pylon is also getting a nice change, where they're reducing the cooldown from 14 seconds to 12 seconds. Next up is going to be Juno. Now she's going to be getting a maximum duration change for her hyper ring, where now it only lasts a total of 4.5 seconds. Previously it was at 6. The cooldown for her pulse torpedoes got increased from 10 seconds to 12 seconds, and the total duration of her orbital ray ultimate got decreased by 2 seconds. Previously it was at 10. Now it's only going to last for 8 whole seconds. Kiriko's getting a slight buff to her healing of Fuda papers, where they're going to be decreasing the recovery time by 0.1 seconds. So they're going to be healing a little bit quicker, and the overall healing also got increased per paper, increasing it from 13 heal per paper to 14 healing per paper. Lifeweaver's healing is also getting changed in 6v6, where his healing blossom maximum health is going to increase from 80 to 90. However, you're going to be using his pedal platform a little bit less now, because they're going to be adding 3 extra seconds to the cooldown, totaling it for 15 seconds. And his Tree of Life is getting both a nerf and a buff, where it lasts a total of 12 seconds instead of 15. However, the maximum health that it does have got increased by 200 points. Previously it was at 1200, now it's at 1400. And the final hero that's getting changed in 6v6 is Zenyatta, but he's getting a whole lot of changes as well. Let's do this. They're decreasing the amount of orbs that he has from 25 total orbs to now only 20 orbs to use. Allies are going to lose their Harmony Orb a lot quicker, because if you don't keep line of sight of them for 3 whole seconds, they're going to lose it compared to 5 seconds. But it doesn't matter, because the Weave in Discord is finally back, where they're no longer going to have a cooldown for a target that previously had a Discord Orb. Now you can swap between targets instantly, on top of the Discord Orb being applied to them a little bit longer, because if you lose sight of them, now it's going to take 3 seconds for that Discord Orb to get removed, compared to 1.5 seconds. But it's a sad day for kicking Zenyatta's, because they reduced the snap kick knockback by 20%, and now it no longer increases the quick melee damage. Why, Blizzard? Well, those are all the hero changes in just the 6v6 mode. Again, this isn't in quick play 5v5, and especially not in competitive. But let me know if you found this video helpful, because this took a very long time to make, so it better have been helpful. But until the next time, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.